The phone rang in Helene Hadsell's modest Texas home. "Congratulations, you've won a brand new house," the voice announced. It wasn't the first time Helene had heard these words. In fact, she'd won so many contests, over 5,000 by her own count, that neighbors started calling her the contest queen. But Helene wasn't naturally lucky. For her first 10 years entering contests, she barely won anything at all. The turning point came when she developed a 4-step method she called SPEC that transformed her life. Today I'm breaking down exactly how this ordinary homemaker, a mother of 3, became one of the most successful manifestors in history, using techniques that still work today. Picture this: a Texas housewife in the 1950s, entering contests with nothing but determination and a notebook. For 10 years, Helene and her husband Pat mailed entries, only to face disappointment. Then something shifted. She began applying principles from Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking, not just as inspiration, but as a practical system. What started as small wins, a toy for her son, a kitchen appliance, soon snowballed into cars, trips, and even that life-changing house. Here's where it gets interesting. Helene's method wasn't about luck or chance. It was a repeatable process, one that modern neuroscience now validates. She didn't just hope to win, she knew she would. And that certainty made all the difference. The power that started it all. A young Texas homemaker in the late 1940s, flipping through the worn pages of Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. For Helene Hadsell, this book became the catalyst that reshaped her understanding of reality. One idea struck her deeply: become a better when you expect the best instead of the worst. Helene had been entering contests with her husband Pat for nearly a decade with minimal success. But then she saw the problem. They'd been approaching it all wrong. The turning point came when Helene stopped hoping to win and started knowing she would. When Pat encouraged her to enter a Coca-Cola contest, she didn't just fill out an entry form. She visualized Pat using the prize, an outboard motor, and wrote as if the win had already happened. When they won, it wasn't just luck. It proved that Peale's principles worked when applied with certainty and focus. Helene's method evolved. She began crafting mental blueprints, much like an architect designs a building. These weren't vague wishes, but precise, detailed images of her desires. When her 6-year-old son, Chris, entered a contest to name a pony, she didn't just help him brainstorm. She imagined the moment he'd hold the prize toy guns, down to their weight in his hands. The win came. Then came 3 electric mixers in 1 year. Each success reinforced her belief in the process. What made Helene's approach revolutionary was how she unknowingly tapped into neuroscience. Modern research shows our brains activate the same neural pathways, whether we experience something or vividly imagine it. Helene was rewiring her subconscious by repeatedly feeding it scenes of success. She didn't just visualize, she embodied the emotions of already having what she wanted. Take the European trip her family won. While other contestants wrote hopeful pleas, Helene's entries carried the calm certainty of someone collecting what was already theirs. Her husband Pat played a key role too, actively testing these principles. Their wins snowballed: a bicycle for their daughter and trips to Disneyland and New York. Each victory came faster, proving the system's reliability. The SPEC method revealed. Helene Hadsell's secret was a systematic approach she called SPEC. This 4-step method broke down manifestation into clear, actionable steps. 1. Select. Most people want things vaguely: a better job, more money, a nice car. Helene went deeper. When she wanted a new refrigerator, she visualized the exact model, the chrome handle, the hum of the motor, even the condensation on a glass of water inside. This specificity mattered. Neuroscience shows our brains respond to detailed mental images almost as strongly as real experiences. Helene wasn't daydreaming. She was programming her subconscious with precise instructions. 2. Project. Having established the importance of detail with select, Helene moved on to project by embodying the experience of owning her desires. When entering a car contest, she didn't stop at seeing herself driving. She imagined the leather scent of the seats, the resistance of the gear shift, the vibration of the engine under her palm. She activated all 5 senses. Research on elite athletes confirms this approach. Visualizing actions can trigger neural patterns similar to performing them. Helene applied this principle decades before science caught up. 3. Expect. This was the make or break phase. Expect wasn't hopeful, waiting, but ironclad certainty. Even when weeks passed with no results, Helene repeated, "There's no failure, only a delay in results." She refused to say, "If I win, only when I collect my prize." Doubt was the enemy. Her son Chris embodied this during a vacation giveaway. While others crossed their fingers, he wrote his entry as if he'd already won. A confident 50-word paragraph. He won the trip. 4. Collect. Finally, Helene stayed alert to opportunities, knowing the universe delivers in unexpected ways. When her daughter wanted a bike, Helene didn't obsess over contest mechanics. She remained open. The bike came through a local radio giveaway. This reflects opportunity recognition, where belief primes us to spot chances others miss. What made SPEC work wasn't magic. It was a feedback loop between mind and reality. Each win reinforced her belief, fueling more wins. Helene proved it repeatedly, not just with mixers and toys, but with life-changing prizes like houses and cars. Beyond contests, spiritual dimensions. Picture Helene in her quiet meditation space, eyes closed, tuning into what she described as auric energy, the personal energy field she believed surrounded every person. She visualized more than prizes. She connected with what she called her spiritual faculty. After her contest-winning phase, she authored In Contact with Other Realms, recounting vivid experiences like a visitation from her deceased grandfather. She described the moment in detail, the warmth of his presence, the clarity of his voice, and the overwhelming sense of peace. To her, these weren't hallucinations, but proof of an accessible spiritual dimension. "We are never alone," she wrote. "There are always those on the other side ready to guide us." Her spiritual practice intertwined seamlessly with her manifestation success. She studied Jose Silva's mind control method, which emphasized using alpha-state brainwaves for problem solving. When a friend challenged her to overcome her fear of flying, Helene visualized calm landings during takeoff using Silva's techniques. Later, after cutting her hand in a kitchen accident, she reportedly stopped the bleeding through focused visualization. These moments reinforced her belief that consciousness could directly influence physical reality. Reflecting on her journey, Helene began distinguishing between wishing and wishcraft, a deliberate alignment of mind and universal energy. She compared it to tuning a radio. The signals are always there, but the right mindset acts as the receiver. This analogy captured her belief that focused intention could shape outcomes. Decades later, scientific concepts like the observer effect in quantum physics would echo her intuitive understanding. Her teachings extended beyond personal gains. When a friend's child fell critically ill, Helene led a visualization circle, imagining the child healthy. The recovery shocked doctors, but Helene saw it as evidence of collective consciousness. She believed groups focusing on identical intentions created a synergistic energy ball, amplifying their impact. Helene resisted labels like psychic. "I'm no witch," she'd laugh. "I use witchcraft." To her, this wasn't supernatural, it was natural law. She emphasized ethical manifestation and warned, "Energy sent outward returns multiplied." For Helene, aligned desires flowed effortlessly, while selfish intentions faltered. The winner's mindset. Picture Helene Hadsell's morning ritual, standing before her mirror, declaring, "Today brings another win," with the same certainty as stating her name. This wasn't wishful thinking, it was neural programming. Her affirmations weren't just words, they were vivid, full sensory experiences. When visualizing a European trip, she didn't simply say, "I'll visit Paris." She imagined tasting croissants, feeling cobblestones underfoot, and hearing accordion music. Neuroscience confirms this method activates the brain as if the experience were real. What if you could harness this same certainty every morning? Here's where most people stumble. They say, "I hope to win," a phrase Helene banned. Instead, she spoke with certainty, "When I collect my prize." This subtle shift rewires neural pathways. The subconscious hears hope as doubt, but accepts when as fact. Helene took it further. Before her daughter entered a contest for a toy poodle, they practiced saying, "Our poodle needs grooming," weeks before winning. This emotional rehearsal, acting as if, built what psychologists call self-efficacy, the unshakable belief in success. Her family became living proof of this mindset. When her husband Pat wanted a fishing boat, he didn't enter contests randomly. He spent evenings imagining the boat's wheel in his hands and the smell of lake water. His winning entry described maintaining the boat he already owned. Their daughter's European trip entry radiated gratitude for experiences she hadn't yet had. This gratitude in advanced technique, supported by modern research, activates the brain's reward system, creating a feedback loop of expectation and manifestation. The key was emotional intensity. Helene treated affirmations like winning tickets, but the real magic was in the feeling. She emphasized experiencing the joy of victory before results appeared, what she called raw, unbridled feeling. Neuroscientists explain this as predictive coding. The brain seeks evidence to match deeply felt convictions. When Helene imagined her new car, she didn't just see it, she felt the pride of ownership so vividly her body responded as if it were real. Helene tailored her methods to personality types. Analytical minds used numbered lists. 3 reasons this prize is mine. Visual thinkers crafted mental movies. She insisted consistency mattered most. 2 minutes of focused emotional engagement beat hours of distracted effort. Science agrees. Brief, intense practice builds stronger neural pathways. Helene Hadsell proved manifestation isn't magic. It's the science of focused consciousness. Her SPEC method worked because it mirrored how our brains function, blending detailed visualization with emotional certainty. Picture applying this to your goals right now. What could you create with that level of deliberate intention? The tools are yours. Remember, the universe responds to what you believe you deserve, not just what you want. Helene showed that life is a canvas. Your thoughts and actions paint the picture. The secret isn't waiting for luck, but co-creating with unwavering belief. Her legacy? Proof that ordinary people can shape extraordinary realities.